clips, and one of the clips was about 5 minutes long. And during this clip, I actually saw one of the younger female jurors take some notes. Nobody looked disturbed or upset today. There was about seven-ish clips played, but yeah, it did not elicit the same type of reactions at all. Oh, and then after.
Yeah, what she's talking about is the first time they showed the clips last week, and some people like visibly like were shocked and like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Thought I'd come here and give you a little update on the Diddy trial. Been a minute since I talked about it, but it's been so many developments going on, starting with Judge Subramanian reprimanding everybody. I mean, not to mention the whole thing about the juror 6 being let off for not being forthright about where he lived. Got a lot to say about that. Seems a little questionable, but let's take a look at some updates on what's happening.
It is day 26 of the United States versus Sean Combs, and the judge is not very happy today. We started the day off by the judge really admonishing both the defense and the government over sealed information that was somehow leaked to the press. We don't know exactly what this information is. I have a feeling that it has to do with the second juror. There seemed to be a second juror issue that was not relayed to the press at all. It was discussed in the robing room in private. And
see, this is crazy because now they've already got rid of juror number 6. Yesterday, I think, was the official last day of his, but juror number 6 was a black man. So slowly but surely, they seem to be getting rid of people that might be sympathetic to Diddy being overcharged in this case, or that he shouldn't be found guilty for this stuff. And it's starting to look a lot like some fishy things are happening in this case, man. Juror number 6 dismissed. A correctional clerk and 90s hip hop fan was removed after misleading the court about his residence and criminal history. Legally, this protects the verdict from future appeals based on juror bias or misconduct. His replacement, a 57-year-old manufacturing architect. What they leave out is that juror number 6 was black. Replacement, the 57-year-old architect, is Caucasian. Judge is probing another juror for improper outside contact. So now, you remember when I was telling you about the jury is not being sequestered, that they're saying this person potentially has had contact with the outside world and maybe watched some media of some kind. So they're saying that's improper, and they're looking for a way to dismiss this juror as well. Getting crazy.
I think there was a media outlet that put out an article about this. Now, I don't know for sure that this is the issue. I am just speculating. So hopefully we will find out. But he was not happy, and he said it potentially could be a contempt issue. So.
Ooh, contempt of court. And shout out to this young lady named Lauren Conlin. She's been on this every day, this case. She's been at the courthouse getting all the information in there. One of the people who has been pretty reliable on reporting the information about this case.
So we'll see what happens, but this will most likely be brief as well, because we've spent most of the day, or we have spent actually the day so far on Agent Pendler, who is the special agent for the government. And she finished her direct examination, and we went over, let's see, more travel itinerary for Jules Theodore, who was one of the escorts. This is August of 2009.
And they say that might be one of the pressing issues right there. That might be one of the most pressing issues, is that with this flight record of this guy, they can now pin interstate trafficking with the, how do I say this for YouTube safe? The S workers, right? One of the S workers actually has been coordinated, like it went through Diddy's chief of staff, KK, Christina Coram. And, you know, it seems to be a blunder of astronomical proportions, obviously, because this is going through his enterprise. So they're saying this is the way that racketeering under the RICO statute can be met. is by two of these things being met. But with so much other stuff going on with the jurors being, ejected from the courtroom for whatever reason, it's starting to look like there's still a possibility this might be a mistrial. Like it doesn't seem like, like they're talking about contempt of court right now. And this is serious crime. Somebody might have to actually go to jail from one of the teams if they're found out to have leaked this to the media. They're laying the groundwork for a RICO case, 71 entry chart aligning Diddy, Cassie, escorts, flights, hotels, and surveillance videos. Prosecution legal goal, tie pattern of conduct to enterprise activity, key to proving RICO elements. Penland confirmed that the chart, this is Delisa Penland, a special agent, confirmed that the chart only included people visually ID'd on video at freak-offs. Confirmed Diddy's American Express funded several trips, explicit videos and messages talking about the Molly, 15 pills of Molly that allegedly came off of Diddy's expense account some kind of way and was allegedly coordinated by Christina Quorum and other people in the organization. Further supporting racketeering and drug distribution charges. Then there was the paralegal also. She was a summary witness for the prosecution to admit charts. Basically, she's just getting everything, all the exhibits and everything admitted to the court and on the record. She testified about text threads between Diddy's team discussing hotel nights, cash deliveries, escort exchange arrangements, and pickups with no firsthand knowledge. Under cross, defense highlighted friendly texts from Jane and Cassie to undermine the government's portrayal of coercion. They also pushed that Sankar couldn't speak to context or tone, just chart mechanics. And that's the paralegal, the summary witness for the prosecution.
Saw an LA to NYC flight itinerary, London hotel reservations, and then we saw all of these charges on Diddy's Amex pertaining to this one trip and the flights, etc. And his bill, I didn't mention this yesterday, but they said a lot of his monthly bills, or they showed us his monthly bills, and his monthly bills range from $218,000 to almost $1 million. It was like $989,000, and this is all on one Amex.
Can you imagine?
Then we got to...
Can you imagine? First off, he's got an Amex that can pay that much, $1 million a month. $1 million a month for bills, expenses. That's crazy. Now, if you're a billionaire, you're not tripping, or if you have upwards of 450 million, I think they said Diddy had, you're not really tripping, but at the same time, it's just thinking about the scale of this, man. Woo! That's crazy.
To September 2014, where we saw Clayton Howard, aka Dave, that's another escort, his flights and hotel records. And this was a flight from JFK in New York to LA. He stayed at the Four Seasons, and we saw the room reservation, Frank Black.
Why do you have to? Now, see, this is an interesting angle. The only way I could see this being not tied to Diddy directly is if somehow the women were requesting these specific men, because getting a S worker in one state, like what would make you want to get what would make you not want to use the local talent in that area? If you are participating in these Wild King nights, hotel nights, or freak-offs, whatever you want to call them, why wouldn't you want to use somebody locally, especially if you knew this was the charge that you were facing eventually? You're going to get your favorite one, but you're not actually, when they describe the FOs, Diddy isn't actually the one that's involved. He's sitting off in the corner doing his own thing, but somehow this is orchestrated, and they're trying to say that I think it's Combs Enterprises is somehow, all these people that work for him are somehow fulfilling his sexual gratification. That's something they put into the beginning of the case to let you know what they're trying to go for, what they're trying to prove. It seems odd that that would be one of the things that they're looking to do. They're trying to prove that he had racketeering activity that would lead him, that everybody was supporting his gratification. Which, when you hire these people like Christina Coram, and they're just all-purpose people. They're going to do whatever their person wants. You know, it's like a executive assistant of some sorts, but on a higher level, you know, because she's running the businesses as well. So I don't know. How many people are doing this currently? How many Wall Street guys are having strippers on their business expenses, and their assistant is booking and handling all of this? So now you're telling us that Diddy, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of this stuff seems very custom fit to Diddy's specific situation and his lifestyle, the way that they've set this case up. And that's why I think he's getting railroaded, because all of this stuff is very custom. And like, what are you going to do? Like, did they look this up for John Gotti? Did they go into this depth of desires of other people that have gone through RICOs? Because I would say, but other than the freaking King nights and parties and a lot of that narcotic, I don't see how they're making this a criminal organization. You know, like, Diddy is the vibes man, right? He's the party. So why wouldn't the party need to be organized some kind of way? I guess you shouldn't break the law by having S workers at your party. Now we know what Diddy meant when he was talking to Fabulous about, you haven't come to party. We haven't partied together. You know what I mean?
Everything that has corroborated what we've seen before. And for this, then there was another trip that they mentioned in July, and this was Jules flying from LA to New York, and we saw that he stayed in a hotel near the Hamptons. It was actually Riverhead, which I was wow. I'm like, Riverhead, which is not quite the Hamptons. Riverhead is kind of near the North Fork, and they put him up at a Hilton Garden Inn. And they made sure the government made sure to say, okay, Riverhead, that's near where? Long Island. And the Hamptons are where? Long Island. So maybe hinting that he was there for a summer Diddy party. Who knows? And then we saw an invoice from the La Hermitage Hotel where we saw damages that were charged to Diddy's Amex for the carpet and the drapes, about $500. And okay,
yeah, baby oil's gonna leave a stain, man. Jeez. I hate to be the person who come in the room after a Diddy party. Like, hey, I'm so glad I'm getting this 5-star hotel. What the?
Didn't have a chance to ask any other reporters in the room this, but I could have sworn I saw an Intercontinental New York charge for damages for $46,000. Now, I feel like maybe I read this wrong because nobody seemed fazed by this. So I'm like, did I get this information wrong? I'm going to have to go back and see, but I swear I saw a $46,000 damage charge. And this was crazy. This was October 2012. And this was the same month that Diddy's Amex, his bill for that month was $944,000 basically. So I will go back and double check on that. But if that is a damage charge, that is insane. So I feel like that can't be right, but I'm throwing it out there just in case you hear it elsewhere. And like I said, I will correct myself later on. Okay. Oh, and then I think the biggest part of the morning was these charts and these graphs pertaining to March 5th, 2016. The entire timeline around the LA Intercontinental Hotel with Cassie and the beating. So it basically went from Cassie communicating with Guerin from Cowboys and Angels, getting an escort. You know, this is the day of. She's communicating.
Notice she said Cassie communicating with Cowboys and Angels. This is how these nights went. Diddy's a busy man. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have time to book these parties at hotels. But somehow, under the RICO statute, they can charge him for anything that anybody else did, which seems kind of crazy. Because even though the woman, his girlfriend, whoever his girlfriend is at the time, is getting smashed, somehow Diddy sitting in the corner, it's for his gratification that all of this is happening. I mean, like, I can understand it, but it seems like a stretch. It still seems like a stretch.
Communicating with this escort named Skylar. And then we go through the morning where she, or the late evening to the early morning, where he's kind of like, do you need me or do you not need me? And then it kind of skips to Cassie getting a crap ton of missed calls from Diddy. And at this point, the missed calls started around 11:28 a.m. And we know that the beating in the hallway took place, my hair, around 11 a.m.
Domestic violence is never to be condoned. If that is in fact what happened here, never condoned on this channel for no reason whatsoever. But is that a RICO? Does that require him to stay in jail for his whole life? The rest of his life? Life sentence. Think about that.
So there was a lot of back and forth about that. And then Tenny played video clips from some of the same videos that they saw yesterday, which were freak off videos. Like I said, there was some reactions, but
yes, that is one of the big developments of this week. And the last part of last week is that they actually are showing the freak off videos to the jurors. So they're actually watching some explicit content that was made by Diddy, which, if you really think about it, if you really think about this, now I know everybody's saying Diddy's evil and Diddy's guilty and Diddy should be buried under the jail. But by Diddy recording these videos, could it be that he was actually recording corn? Like, if he was really to just say, like, I have an amateur obsession for filming corn, explicit material, which, to my knowledge, is legal. Is that a defense for all this? Is that a defense for all this stuff that they're saying is so coordinated? And, because just because they're S workers doesn't mean that that's what they are full time. A lot of times there were people, like you said, what was the place called? I don't want to know the name, but the one with the cowboys or whatever. Just a thought, man. But is that a possibility that Diddy gets on the stand and he just lays it out and he says, hey, I'm a filmmaker. I've been working in Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a booming industry. It's very out in the open about filming corn. So I don't know what the rules are in New York about filming corn, but since all of these things, as far as we know, everything has been documented. Is that a defense? The film director defense. You heard it here first at Fawcett Media.
she played different clips, and one of the clips was about 5 minutes long. And during this clip, I actually saw one of the younger female jurors take some notes. Nobody looked disturbed or upset today. We could kind of hear part of the video until one of the somebody in court, one of the
put earphones on.
Wow, I'm blanking out. One of the federal guys that are in charge, they're just like, yeah, we can hear it. And then all of a sudden, they turned it down, or everybody adjusted their headphones, and we couldn't hear anything anymore. So yeah, there was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was about seven-ish clips played, but yeah, it did not elicit the same type of reactions at all. Oh, and then after.
Yeah, what she's talking about is the first time they showed the clips last week, and some people like visibly like were shocked and like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Like whatever was happening on the first few FO tapes that they showed was disturbing last week. So now we're into some other tapes that are less disturbing, I guess.
After all the videos were played, I did see one female juror make a face like this. Like she's kind of thinking. So Tenny will.
Ooh, that says a lot. That little side mouth, like, what are we watching? This is softcore Skinamax. This is some Skinamax stuff we talk about.
Finish her cross later, and then we will get to Brendan Paul. So I will give you an update later on today.
And Brendan Paul is the narcotics, the alleged narcotics guy, alleged runner for Diddy, ex-basketball player that was hanging around there that they said he's flipped. He's got immunity now, so he's going to testify to what he knows about Diddy's trafficking of rugs, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so it's an interesting update. But back to the tape. So if they watch the tape and they can determine from the tape that the women are kind of enjoying the situation, like, is there a place where there is some autonomy in this? Like, you've booked this Wild King night. You've set up the hotel. You've coordinated with KK, allegedly. And, because KK might actually have to face trial too as a co-conspirator. But if you've done all these steps and you are visibly enjoying this Wild King night, this hotel night, this same thing goes for, not Mia, but Jane. Jane, the second anonymous person who we don't know. Right? We have no idea who she is. We know exactly who she is. If you are seen, if you're Jane and you're Cassie and you're seen enjoying these things, does that kind of change the nature of this? Like, at what point do they take any type of accountability for being involved in this? And what point could these women have packed up their bags and moved to Siberia, to move to, I don't know, just go to Wyoming, or, well, Kanye's in Wyoming. Shout out to Ye. But really, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, do you have to go do hotel nights every night? Or is there not a line of women that are lined up to be at a billionaire's every beck and call, to do whatever they want? You know, that's the strange thing about this. But there's been so many missteps. Like I said, it's not looking good for Diddy, but at the same time, them trying to take jurors away, specifically a black man, they're like, oh, this black man has a technicality. It looks like his address says that he's from the Bronx, but he lives in New Jersey with his girlfriend. Like, who doesn't do that? Like, unless he's completely moved out of his house in the Bronx, then it shouldn't be an issue. But they've used that, and I guess several other issues. They said he wasn't following instructions well enough to eject him from the jury. Seems very suspicious to me. Anyway, I want to know what you think about it in the comments. This is False Media.